So in the last class, we have discussed what exactly the process and the background concepts which are essential to understand the concept we have discussed so far, right? So from that discussion, what we understood is what happens internally when you submit a job or whatever you wanted to execute in the system, what is happening, how your process, I mean, whatever the task that you are trying to execute in your system, how it is going to be loaded, how it will be allocated to the CPU, and what way CPU will process your instructions step by step. Okay, and what are the things that it was recorded while executing your task, and how those data structures will help for in order to complete your task by the CPU. So these things we understood. Hope you're all clear with this, all these points. Because once you're clear with these things, then only you're able to understand the remaining concepts, because this particular unit is very, very important in terms of concept, both in examination point of view and as well as for the competitive examination point of view also. So, still, if you have any queries regarding what is process and the process life cycle and the data structures which are used by the operating system in order to process it, that is process control block. So these three issues are all of you are clear or not? That's my question. If you are not clear, we need to be discussed once again, because it is very, very essential. Okay, so still, if you have any queries, you please drop a message in the chat box. Make it fast, or I will allow you to unmute yourself. If you are not able to type properly, you can ask the question by unmute yourself. Right. Please let me quickly review what exactly the things so far which we have covered. Right. So process means the program in execution. Whatever the thing that you wanted to do with the computer system will become a process. Because why I'm calling it as a process means, so whatever the thing that you wanted to execute should be, for example, you want to you want to create a Word document on your screen. So what you usually will do, you just simply right click on the monitor where you can select the option like create new Microsoft Word document. Okay, so for doing all these things, operating system plays an important role. How it is? Because who will take care of allocating memory space to your Word document? Again, it is operating system. Because operating system will supervise so many resources, not so many, all the resources which are available in your system itself, like hardware components. That means you want to type something. We need the help of keyboard. So operating system will pass some information to the keyboard, which can allow the user request. Otherwise, it can't, because whatever you type that need to be loaded into the memory. So the whole process will be taken care by operating system itself. Okay. Similarly, for the memory management. So definitely you want to store something in your system, definitely it should be stored in the memory. Initially it may be in the volatile memory. Later once you save, if you click on the save button, automatically it will be moved to the location where you want to select. Let me show you what is happening so that you can easily understand. Okay. For example, if I click on here, desktop. Okay. Suppose if I want to create something, new Word document, what I did, I just click on this new button. Are you able to view my screen or not? Is it visible to you? Okay. So if I click on, if I right click, if I place the mouse pointer on the new, and if I click on Word document, what is happening here? A new Microsoft Word document with this name, it was created. So as of now, we was not saved this. If I click on to open this, something is okay. So as of now, if I type something, okay, uh, I was typed all these things. Suppose if I was not click on the save button directly, if I want to close it, for example, what it shows? Do you want to save or you don't want to save it? So you want to keep this document forever. What you have to do? You need to press on the save. Otherwise, if you don't want keep this file for future reference, then you can click on the don't save button. Okay. Or you wanted to stay back here itself only, you just click on the cancel button. If you click on cancel, still you are in the place where you are previously. Okay. Now, if I click on the save button, what happens internally? It was saved on the desktop. Where are you? See, I'll show you whether it was saved or not. So go to the desktop. So now you can observe this is the Microsoft Word document. You click on this, whatever the content previously you typed, still it was remained same. That means what happens internally? It was stored in the local disk C. Okay, because all the desktop data will be stored at your C drive only. Okay, so here the point which you are supposed to observe is once you create something, initially the memory will be allocated at the RAM itself, volatile memory. Once you press on the save button, automatically it will be moved to the disk where you want to keep it. For example, if I want to save it in some other location rather than this, what I have to do? I just click on this save as. Okay, this document will be saved there also. Okay, so here what I mean to understand is how it is going to be managed the memory resources. Okay, operating system will manage the memory also, because once it was moved from volatile to permanent memory, there it need to allocate some space, and whatever the location that it is allocated for this document need to be recorded in the file allocation table for the future reference. So here suppose if I search for something new, Microsoft Word document. Okay, so the search result will be appeared here. Okay, so in order to display this, in order to display like this, operating system will do a lot of operation background. So it search for the alphabets which you have typed. Suppose if it found, automatically it will be displayed. Okay, so where it can be verified whether the requested one is available or not is it verifies in the file allocation table whether is there any name of the file which exists with this name or not. Right? If it found somewhere, it will be displayed. When you click on this, automatically what happens? In order to open it, that need to be loaded from secondary storage to primary storage, right? In order to load the contents of that file, first it need to verify the address of the file which is available in the file allocation table. Based on that address, it will move to the location where it resides. From that, physically, the contents of that particular file will be loaded from secondary storage to primary storage. Then only the processor is able to process it. Okay, so these all things comes under the category of execution, program in execution. So these all things you can call it as a process. So that means before starting off your operation to ending of your operation, whatever is happening in between that and whatever the role that the operating system plays, these things you are supposed to be observed. So the whole process right from the beginning to the end of your task is called as a process. I hope you are all clear with this point or not. Yeah, I need quick response because we have less amount of time. We need to cover so many things. Okay, make it fast. If you are clear, you can clear. You just drop the message like clear. Otherwise, we will discuss some other example. Okay, all right. Now, once we are clear with this, what exactly the process, now let us see how it is going to be executed. Okay, so now we know what is a process. All right. The next step is, in order to execute your job in the system, we need to allocate this job to the CPU. CPU will process it, and finally, it produces the result. Okay. So once your process has created, that is new state, when you are in new state, once a new state has created, okay, next step is we need to be entered into the job queue. For example, if you went to the hospital for a particular treatment, what is the first step? We need to register ourselves, right? We need to get the appointment. Okay. So first getting the appointment, because here the doctor is the CPU who is going to process the jobs. So all the patients you can consider it as a process, right? So once you take the appointment, you need to be wait in the queue until your turn has come. Similarly, here also, once the process is created, next step is, in order to suppose before going to enter into the doctor cabin, they will check something like what is your blood pressure, what is the temperature that you have. Like that, they will take some precautionary. They will do some precautionary tests, whatever is essential for your problem. Okay, so all these things are getting resources required for you. Similarly, in the computer system also, once the process is created, for this, it requires some other resources will be allowed into the ready queue. Okay, so once it was entered into the queue, so okay, all the tests are completed. Okay, you are in the queue. So many patients are also waiting for it. So whatever the process that they are following, process in the sense, the scheduling process, how the doctor is going to treat the patients, whether they will allow one after another, or is there any priorities like they will give you, they will issue the special cards, they will charge more, so that you will get that is what the process is called as scheduling. How they are going to uh, uh, process the all these patients, what is the process that they adopt is called as scheduling. That is the policy. What is the policy that they adopt is called as scheduling. Okay. Now, so based on the scheduling policy, they will allow the patients into the doctor cabin. But here also, once you acquire all the resources required for your execution of your process, you will be changed from new state to ready queue. So you need to be wait in the ready queue until CPU and until your turn has come. So once your turn has come, CPU will allow this particular job for the execution, right? During that time, patient starts the treatment. Here, doctor starts the treatment. He will ask some questions, like what is the problem, what kind of symptoms that you have, like that. He will ask something. So based on the information given by you, what he will do, probably he may suggest some tests or something like that. So during that time, what happens? Once he wrote some tests, what he doctor told you, he said, okay, go and get the result of this test. So immediately we'll out from the doctor cabin. Immediately next person will enter. So what happens in that case? Temporarily, the doctor suspends the execution of our process, and he will allow new process for the execution. So in that case, what happens? The doctor will, because always here our intention is scheduling algorithm extent you are able to make the processor as busy, CPU as busy, so that it will finish number of tasks. The same example you can apply in the doctor's paper. So you have entered into the doctor's cabin. He was verified. I mean, he was inquired about some details regarding your problem, and if he suggests some tests, okay, so you'll go to the laboratory and you can perform all the tests and you can get back. So until you come back to the doctor's cabin, still he is waiting for you. What happens in that case? It is unnecessary waste of time. Instead of wasting that time, if he may allow other patients to enter into that, so that what happens, he can serve the more number of patients, right? So once you come back from the laboratory after getting all the results, you just inform to the compounder, like, I got all the tests, so that I want to visit the doctor. So immediately what happens, whatever the current process is execution, whatever the current patient is there in the doctor cabin, okay, so after completion of his treatment, immediately the doctor will allow you to process. In the similar fashion, here also the context switch, that switching process is called as context switch. So in that scenario, here also the CPU will allow the jobs for the execution. So during the execution of your job, suppose if your job requires the services of any other available in the system, like IO devices, immediately it suspends the execution of the current job, and you'll be redirected to the whatever the service you require or whatever the resource that you require, right? So in such a way, the process is going on. So that is the need of process scheduling, and what way your process has changed its state, process life cycle. At any given point of time, you can take a process should be in any one of the 5 states. What are those? New, ready, running, wait, and terminated. So once you have started once you started your task, that we can call it as a create. After acquiring all the resources, you will be placed into the, that is, after verifying your temperature, BP and all, you will be put it in the line. Okay, so that is what we are called it as a ready queue. After that, after that, probably once your turn has come, automatically you will be enter into the doctor's cabin. And similarly, here also CPU will allow you for the processing. CPU will allow you for processing your job. So during the execution of your job, suppose if the doctor wants to check something, you want to prescribe some tests, what happens in that case? The execution of the current job is going to be temporarily suspended, and you will be redirected to the jobs. So here also, if whatever the process that is currently being executed by the CPU, if that process requires the services of any other resources like IO device, immediately it suspends it, and that process will be redirected to the IO device. I'll show you the diagram. right? So temporarily suspends it and it will be redirected to the IO device. So at that moment, once it was redirected, it may not get the services of the device immediately, because at that moment the device may be busy with some other execution of some other task. So that what happens in that case, it need to be wait in the device queue.
Sir,
Okay, so yes,
sir, screen కనపడట్లేదు సార్, డయాగ్రామ్
yes,
కనపడట్లేదు,
okay,
డయాగ్రామ్
okay,
కనపడట్లేదు.
okay, okay, okay. Now is it visible? Now is it visible?
సరే సార్.
Okay, okay, right. So this step is, once you enter into the hospital, whatever the, see, don't think otherwise it is the best suited example, that's why I was considered. Don't think that sir is taking example as a class, I mean hospital and all. Okay, don't think in the negative edge. So once you enter into the hospital, after paying the whatever the consultation fees, that is what we are called as a new. After that, whatever the fundamental things or fundamental information that is required to process, like verification of your BP and all the temperature and all, you will be placed in the queue, in the line. That is what we are called as a ready. Okay, so once your turn has come, CPU will allow you to execute. So that is what we are called as a running. That means once you enter into the doctor's cabin, that will become running. So during the running state, if your process requires any of the services of other devices, like that means some tests he may prescribe. So what you have to do, you need to go to the laboratory, diagnostic center, where they can perform all the tests. You may not be the first person in the diagnostic center. Some other people are also be in the queue. So what you have to do, you need to wait until your turn has come in the diagnostic laboratory also. So here that queue is called as device queue. Okay, so once your turn has come, it will be processed, and after executing all these things, what happens again, you go back to the queue, where you need to be where you need to wait for some more time until your turn has come back. Like that, the process will be repeated. Once everything is fine, everything is processed, simply you may leave the hospital. That is what we are called as a terminated state. So similarly, whatever the process is happening in the hospital, the same is happened in the process also. So here, instead of doctor, here you can imagine CPU. The patient itself is called as the process. Hope you are all clear with this process life cycle. Are you clear with this point or not? Nobody is responding. I don't think you are not clear with this, right? Okay, okay, okay. All right. Now, so up to now, what is process and what is its state we have discussed. Now, the thing here is, next concept is the scheduling. So here, so many people are waiting in this queue, or so many processes are waiting in this queue. Now, how the CPU is going to handle all this? That means what is the policy that it need to follow to process all these things? Okay. So before going to discuss about the scheduling process, one should understand what are the different types of schedulers are available. Okay, long-term scheduler, short-term scheduler, and middle-time scheduler. Okay, long-term scheduler, you can imagine like it is just like a batch processing system, where a lot of jobs are going to be executed parallel, simultaneously. Okay. A short-term schedulers, in the sense, it is happening in every millisecond in the system point of view. What way, how it is shifted from one thing to another one. I mean, one process to another process within no time. That is what we are called it as a short-term schedule. Like that, whatever the policy that you are going to follow to process it is called as CPU schedule. I mean, process scheduling. So CPU scheduler will take care of, I mean, it need to adopt a policy through which it can process it. Okay, so that we can see now. And hope you are all clear with this process control block. This is clear. This is the data structure which is maintained by the operating system until the completion of any process. When it was started, when a process was created, this information is, this data structure is created. During the execution, automatically it will be loaded with the contents. That information is maintained until the completion of the process by the operating system. Because why it necessary is, every process will be created with a, assigned with an ID, that is what we are calling it as process ID. Okay, and process state, as I told you, at any given point of time, you can take, you can observe the process is in any one of the 5 states, right? And program counter, which maintains the address of next instruction is to be loaded, I mean executed. Okay, so suppose your program is having 5 lines which you want to execute. So initially it contains the address of first line. So once it was processed by the CPU, once it was allocated to the CPU, immediately it loads the address of the next line. Like that continuously, it updates its address location. Okay, processor will always access the content of this program counter. Based on that, the contents are going to be executed. Okay, so for execution of this, it uses certain registers. Yes, somebody has unmuted. 507. I'll stop the unmuting process so that no disturbance will be there. Right. So, in order to execute your process, it uses several CPU registers, general purpose registers, okay, address registers, accumulators, like so many registers it was used. So whatever the registers that it was used, all this information is recorded in this, like the priority information, like scheduling queue pointers. So that whole information is placed in the CPU registers. And memory limits. What is the limits of the memory for which it was allocated, and what are the other files that were opened for this. Like this, the whole information regarding this process is maintained as a data structure, just like a variable or array or structure, something like that. It maintains this whole information as a data structure for each and every process, for parent process and as well as child process. Okay, so for each and every process, it maintains this information, right? Suppose, as we have discussed, a switch, first process is currently being executed. If it needs the services of any other source, what happens in that case? This process is temporarily suspended, and at that moment, it need to save all this information because this information will be useful for the CPU later, because once it come back after completing the task, the processor need to be loaded with the information where it was stopped previously. So that is the reason it will be saved straight into the PCB0. Okay, so immediately, instead of waiting for the completion of your task, it will allow second process for the processing. So in order to execute this process, what it has to do, whatever the information that it was created for the process one will be loaded. So based on that information, because in order to process it, it need to have the process, it need to know the process state. After that, it need to have the address which is present in the program counter, right? Because it contains the information or address of the next instruction to be executed. Okay, so all this information will be loaded into this, and then only it starts the execution of the second process. Okay, so if the process 0 has completed its task, okay, and it was placed in the queue, ready queue. What happens is that information will be passed, just like the compounder informs to the doctor, like some of the patients are waiting with the test reports. So immediately what happens? The doctor simply uh, allow you for the further process. Similarly, here also, the completion of the process 1 by the some other resource will be informed to the CPU in the form of interrupt. So once it was interrupted, okay, immediately what happens? Whatever the process that is currently being executed will be suspended for a period of time. So before allowing the process 0 for the execution, it need to save all the information at this moment. Whatever the information which is available for this process 1 at this moment will be saved. Okay, and then it allow the process 0 for the execution. Right? In such a way, these data structures are useful for the operating system, especially in the switching process. Hope you are all clear with this or not. Still, if you have any query, please let me know. Is it clear? What is process? Life cycle block, the process control block, and schedule. What is the necessity of scheduling? These 4 issues are clear with you? Okay, okay. Thank you. Right. Now, let us look at about the context switch. That means what happens internally when an interrupt arrives. As I told you previously, you can pass the information to the CPU in the form of system call or an interrupter. Right? You cannot directly meet the doctor. You need to inform to the compounder. Compounder will inform to the doctor by interrupting the job. Interrupting the job in the sense, so probably doctor may be busy with some other task. So the information will be passed to the doctor with the help of compounder itself. So similarly here also, CPU may be busy with so many other tasks. So you just pass the information to the CPU like, I want the services of you with the help of interrupt or the system call. So at that moment, what CPU has to do is, CPU must do will save the information regarding the current process, and then it will be switched to the kernel mode. It will be switched to the okay. In order to handle the interrupt in the sense, whatever the request that you made, in order to process that request, it will be entered to the kernel mode. Okay. After that, similarly, the context switch occurs when the time slice for one process has expired and a new process is to be loaded from the ready queue. This will be instigated by a timer interrupter. Suppose, as I told you, you can easily understand by observing the time sharing operating system. So what is the job of time sharing operating system? Time sharing operating system will allocate certain period of time to each and every process, fixed interval of time. For example, 10 minutes for each process, which is waiting in the ready queue. Okay. So first job will be assigned with the 10 minutes. It was processed. Okay. After completion of the 10 minutes, it suspends its execution and it allows second process for the execution. Right? So, and the next 10 minutes will be allocated to the process 2. After that, it will be moved to the process 3. Like that, the process is repeated. So here, whatever the time that it was allocated, even though still it needs to be executed. For example, let us imagine 10 lines of code is present in your program. First job. Okay. during the 10 minutes of time, only 5 lines has executed. Still, it requires some more time to process, even though it suspends its execution, uh, and then it allows the second job for the processing. So what I mean to say is, even though it was not completed, once it, because of the time is up, it suspends its execution and it allows the next job for process. That is also be another kind. That is what we are call it as a context switch. Okay, that this can be done with the help of timer. So the clock, timer setup, whatever the time that you have set up, that can be done with the help of that timer interrupt, which will then cause the current process state to be saved. So whatever the time interval that you have allocated, once it was completed, immediately what CPU has to do, whatever the contents or whatever the information that it need to be recorded, or the process which is currently being executed, that will be saved and it will be moved to the next job. So whenever, based on the timer interrupt, if the CPU switches the execution from one process to another process, is called as context switch. Okay, so saving and restoring states involves saving, restoring of all the registers and program counters, as well as the process control blocks, right? So saving means, as I told you, the process control block is the data structure maintained by the operating system for each and every process. So the current process is suspended. Before suspending it, it need to be update all the fields in the PCB, like program counter, because whatever the instruction the next it is supposed to be executed will be recorded in the program counter, right? And the contents of the registers. Okay, this all information need to be saved, right? So whenever it come back to the execution of the previous one, so based on this information which was recorded in the PCB, it starts its execution. Okay, so context switch happens frequently because and the overhead of doing the switching is just lost the CPU time. So context switch need to be as fast as possible. Okay, so it was happened frequently when you are using this time-based execution, right? Uh, so that is about context switching, right? Uh, so this is some information regarding how the multitasking in mobile systems. As you all aware of that, how the multiple tasks are going to be executed, right? At a time, we are able to open so many applications in our, and parallelly, all these things are executed. Okay, and so hope you are all clear with these points. Scheduling, process life cycle, and process control block. So if you are clear with this, we'll look at about the operations on process. What kind of operations that we can perform on the process? The first step is process creation. Process creation means process may create other processes through a Proteus system call. That means one process may have any number of sub-process. So the process itself, it can create the sub-process. That is what we are called it as a child process. The process which creates the sub-process will become parent process, and the newly created sub-process are called as the child process. Okay. So here the new process will be created by using fork command. Okay. Uh, as I tell you, the process which does the creating is termed as the parent process, and the process which was newly created by a particular process is called as child. Each one will be assigned with a Okay. And now, right. So each and every process will be assigned with a process ID. So only in the Unix system, the process scheduler is termed as SCHED and is given the PID as 0. Even in the laboratory itself, you have verified the process IDs. While killing the process, whatever the command that you have typed, okay? So it shows the process IDs which are being currently running, okay? The first thing it does at the system startup time is to launch init. We'll see elaborately while discussing the programs about this process creation, execution, and all. Okay. Now have a look at it. Init initially the process ID is one. It creates various sub-processes like this. You can observe each and every process is assigned with a number, right? Different number, unique number. You can observe. In such a way, this is the parent process which creates three childs, one, two, three. Okay, this first child will create another subchild. Okay, as far as concerned with this is the parent. This is the child's process. It is the parent process. As far as concerned with this, right? As far as concerned with this, the login is the child process, whereas this particular one is the root process, parent process for it. Okay, like that, whatever the process initially that was created is acting as a parent, and whatever the other processes that was created by this one will act as a child process. So for even parent process and as well as child process, a unique number will be allocated. Unique identification number will be allocated. So depending on the system implementation, a child process may receive some amount of shared resources with its parents, right? So how the memory space is allocated for this will be shared by this. A lot of things need to be discussed regarding this, right? We need to be elaborately discuss the process creation and process termination and process execution, inter-process communication. So these things we will see in the next class. Okay. So hope you are all clear, because in the next class we'll directly start elaborately discussing the operations and process. So up to now, whatever the queries that you have, you please ask, so that in the next class we don't wait for the revising all these things, because we need to cover so many important aspects.